I'm Matt McClymans, and today I've got Nicholas Bedard, and we're going to talk about how you can secure your cloud journey with Palo Alto Networks and Google Cloud. Nicholas, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what you do at Google, and we'll kind of dive in.
Matt, I'm so glad to be here with you. So for everyone watching this, Matt and I have been doing such presentation for like 3 years, and I really enjoy being here with you. So my name is Nicholas. I'm a customer engineer, Canada, specialized in cybersecurity. I've been working with Palo Alto for the last 10 years. I'm so glad to be here talking about that new announcement, that new product we launched, Cloud NGFW, that went GA this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So when Nicholas and I were kind of discussing what we wanted to talk about in today's session, so Nicholas and I have been working together for a very long time, and when we were kind of going back and forth what we wanted to talk with you all about today, we thought AI obviously first, because that's what everyone is talking about. We thought maybe a specific customer use case, but instead, given that it's the last day, it can be kind of loud here. We thought it would make more sense to just kind of talk about a journey that both Palo Alto Networks and Google Cloud have taken on the network security side to kind of get to where we are today with this new product and service, and how we're kind of really changing the way customers approach cloud network security. So when we first started off, a little bit actually about the partnership before I even go any further. The journey really kind of began back in 2018 with Google Cloud and Palo Alto Networks, where the partnership teams, what we try to do is we try to develop joint integrations for customers. And I think now over the years we have a little bit over 50 integrations, and every integration we have is doesn't have its own press release. A lot of them solve a specific use case. Like we've integrated Cortex XDR with Google Cloud BeyondCorp to facilitate health scores between endpoints and SaaS applications. And then we've done really big ones like the one we're going to talk about today, where it takes months, if not years, of planning across both of our organizations to actually bring to the market. Probably the first thing we ever did with the Google Cloud team is we released our VM-Series firewall to the Google Cloud Marketplace. And for those who are unfamiliar, VM-Series is just our virtual form factor firewall. Allows you to secure applications regardless of port and protocol, secure the users using those applications, and then inspect the content of the applications using cloud-delivered security services. And it's really kind of enabled a lot of customers to really dramatically improve their network security posture. But we're going to talk about kind of some of the issues that, just not necessarily with the VM-Series, but just with network security appliances in general in cloud and what we wanted to address. And the first step we took was, I think it was during the COVID years, 2021 or 2022. We released Cloud IDS, which at the time was the first cloud native threat detection system that was powered by Palo Alto Networks technologies under the hood. And what it really gave customers was the ability to have next-gen detection without having a team to deploy and manage third-party firewall appliances. So, Nicholas, from your perspective, how have you seen customers using Google Cloud IDS, and what value does it bring? What's kind of just been the general feedback from customers?
Yeah. When Cloud IDS came out, it was a revolution because it enabled our customers to have visibility on network threats that they couldn't have before, other than building such a complex system. Cloud IDS enabled them to be compliant. So compliance is really the first use case that Cloud IDS solved. It's interesting because yesterday I was at the security booth, and one of a customer came to me talking about Cloud IDS and how it changed their life into migrating into the cloud. Because as a retail company, they needed to be compliant to PCI certification, but they didn't know how to stay compliant with requirement 11.2 or 3 from the PCI DSS that mandates having a managed intrusion detection system in place to monitor credit card exfiltration data. So he told me that enabled them to move to the cloud faster by not having to build that complex monitoring system, but using Cloud IDS natively.
Yeah, and I think to that point, that's one of the things we wanted to really get out of Cloud IDS is that, in order to deploy next-gen firewalls in cloud, it's not like deploying a physical firewall in a data center where you plug cables in and it's up and running. There's a lot of thought that has to go into the scaling of those firewalls. A lot of thought that has to go into how they're going to be managed, how you implement that into your infrastructure as code pipelines. And one of the things that Cloud IDS, like the immediate value prop, is that customers who don't have experience in those areas can get that ability within like a half dozen clicks. So now, I did not copy Google, or we did not copy Google before building the next thing. It's been on that slide for a while, but after we released Cloud IDS, we wanted to kind of look at what's the next thing that we could build, and we spent a significant amount of time talking with customers on what they wanted to see. From a lot of Cloud IDS customers, they wanted to see inline inspection, so to actually prevent threats in real time versus just detecting them. Basically, move from an IDS to a IPS system. From a lot of software firewall customers, we heard, hey, let's remove a lot of the cloud networking requirements that are needed to implement scalable architectures, especially things as networks span across different projects within Google, multi-region deployments, just to make that whole process simpler. And then we heard global policies across an organization, so the ability to implement a hierarchical policy set to where you can attach global rules to VPCs as they're in different projects. You have your global blacklist or global whitelist. And then lastly, we heard the ability to inspect everything, like really to start to move towards zero trust. So intra-network traffic, TLS traffic. Nicholas, from your perspective, where did you see, after we released the Cloud IDS integration, where did you see it kind of going from there?
Yeah. One of the biggest feedback we got from IDS customer was, yeah, it's good. We can inspect. We have visibility. We're able to move to the cloud faster, but we want the ability to block. And it's an IDS detection system. It's not blocking. So this is where this vision of building a system that can block traffic, not only detect it, make totally sense. That led to the Cloud NGFW firewall that we released this week.
Yeah, and I think with a lot of customers who are using IDS, and to your point, like I want to move to an IPS. The solution at the time was to use like a SOAR to automatically go in and block threats picked up by Cloud IDS. That was option one. The other option would be to move to actually towards a virtual appliance type architecture. And that sounds good on paper, but what it involves is you have to re-architect how the entire cloud fabric works. You have to be able to put the firewalls in line. And the problem with that kind of the long-term strategy is that those centralized appliances are really dictating everything that is going on from a networking perspective, because all of the cloud resources rely on them in order to communicate. So with that, that's kind of led us, I keep skipping forward 2 slides. Could we go back? Oh no, we're on the right one. That one's not showing the right one. Okay, we're good. So that led us to where we are today at Google Cloud Next, where we've launched Cloud NGFW Enterprise. So Nicholas, why don't you walk us through what it is, what it solves for customers?
Yeah, Cloud NGFW firewall. It's a firewall that is cloud native and includes 3 tiers: Essential, Standard, and Enterprise. The Enterprise stack is built upon Palo Alto's technology. So when it comes to be a game changer for our customer, what does it mean? It means that customer can go on their configuration and just turn it on with the existing configuration they have. So this is a big difference between IDS, where you needed to create an entire configuration and then attach it to your workload. Now, Cloud NGFW is built on top of the existing network policies. So it's super easy to turn it on and have full visibility that Palo Alto can detect, right? So it's consisting in in a new technology that we developed called Packet Intercept, where we literally changed the way we capture traffic internally, where we can take the packet coming from a workload to another one, inspect it into the engine, then send it back to destination. And I'm going to demonstrate that in our next slide. So when we want to build Cloud NGFW Enterprise, there's 4 things we need to do. First, we need to set up a firewall endpoint. So you go in the configuration, you spin it up. You will need one per region. So turn it on depending on where you're running. The second thing is you need to associate your existing VPC to this endpoint. That will enable you later in the policy to associate your security profiles to that and get the traffic inspected. Number 3 is to create these security profiles and group. So what's a security profile? That's a big difference with Cloud IDS. We have the ability in Cloud NGFW to be super specific and granular on 2 things. First is the level of attack and what we are doing with every threat that is being detected. So depending if they are informational, low, medium, or critical threat, we can configure specific behavior out of these signatures that, not on the signatures, on the specific threat that are being detected by the engine, right? The second thing we can do is we can customize specific attack configuration. So let's say we have a log4j specific attack that we want to block. So I could create a security profile saying, okay, you will alert everything, but block log4j specific attacks. So this enables our customers to have a full control on their configuration, block whatever they want to block, and just alert on the rest. We're using Packet Intercept. That's a new feature that we published in order to capture the traffic. And then we will send the logs to Cloud Login. From this, super easy to integrate with the rest of the security monitoring tool that Palo has, like Cortex XDR or XIM, where we'll be able to push all of these metrics into the security data lake.
So with Packet Intercept, a common question that that we get is, how do we actually sit in line with traffic, right? And so one of the things that Packet Intercept allows us to do, as you're describing, is in order to actually get traffic to that endpoint for inspection, nothing has to be done from a networking perspective. You're just creating firewall rules that allow you to transparently intercept that traffic and send it to the firewall endpoint for inspection. And that really is a huge advantage, especially for customers who are already heavily deployed inside of Google Cloud. And it pretty much skips the re-architecture that would be required for traditional, appliances. So with that, we kind of have an architecture here. So Nicholas, do you want to kind of kick us off and talk about this and what it means?
Yeah, for sure. So let's start with a small story. I'm a customer that is migrating to the cloud. I have existing workloads on-premise that I need to move, lift and shift. I have other customers that were already modernized using Kubernetes that I also want to move, but they are modern. They don't have operating system like Windows or Linux. My main goal is to replicate whatever I had on-premise, right? So I had firewalls on-premise, need to port that in the cloud. So what am I going to do? I'm going to start by implementing the network policies and bring this for the cloud-native workload so I can... Sorry, I'm kind of lost in my talk. So I'm going to configure my next-gen firewall, the configuration of the next-gen firewall. I'll port that into the VM series. And then whatever workload that is cloud-native, I'll rewrite the policies using using the network policies instead of the VPC firewalls. That will enable me to enable all of the features for threat detection that I need in order to replicate what I had on-premise.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we wanted to touch on to that point is, within the partnership, we want to make sure we're giving all of our customers choice and how they really consume cybersecurity, because none of them, no customer is alike. So we have some customers that are large enterprise customers that have huge security teams, huge network infrastructure teams that can manage these types of deployments. And then there's also potentially smaller customers who don't have the experience with network security. And so one of the things that we wanted to touch on before we close up for questions is that what we have with Cloud NGFW, with Packet Intercept, to actually be able to transparently intercept that traffic, you can still gain that same simplicity for larger enterprise customers who require, the full inspection stack of what we can provide from Palo Alto with VM series. So it's not something that is generally available today. It's in private preview, but it's something that we're also very excited about going forward.